Okay, so last year, Randy and I decided to do a project where we would try to rework our pre-AP chemistry curriculum, where we kind of tried to move toward mastery, but not to the extent that math does it. We wanted our own kind of brand of mastery. So we took all of our objectives, or all of our curriculum, and split it into objectives so that we could focus the kids on specific areas where they may need improvement or where they may be struggling. And so we did that, and we changed the testing format so that we didn't count quizzes for grades at all. They were purely learning experiences. And the exams we gave in triplicate. And so they had 3 opportunities for exams, kind of with a little remediation in between. And those exams were all different. Some were multiple choice, some were pure open response, some were hybrids to kind of give kids in different areas that do better on different questions opportunities to have something they do well at. And then we tried that first semester and kind of saw where things were. So why don't you start talking about where they were at, Coach Redmaker?
Well, the bonus of doing the business that way, so to speak, is that the students in class knew exactly where their deficiencies were. So when they come into seminar for help, they would say objective, or unit 5, objective 3, I'm struggling with. And so we would be able to pinpoint exactly where their difficulties were, whether it was through the quizzes. That's how their initial feedback was through, and then that's how we'd come in and get more help through that point. We started to find ourselves struggling through assessment hell, let's just say, so because we had test after test after test after test, and it's very difficult. Well, it was difficult for us initially to make sure we got a length of test that was doable in a short period of time. So there was a lot of developing assessments to meet our time constraints and still being able to cover the material that we needed to cover. So there was an issue with it. That was the biggest negative about the whole process. The positive was that the kids knew exactly what was expected of them. We didn't have to write the objective on the board. They knew in advance, in black and white in front of them on a daily basis, exactly where we're at, what we were discussing. So that was good for them. Kids like structure. This was structure, basically.
We also ran into the problem that once they figured out the quizzes weren't really worth anything, they stopped doing them, or at least stopped trying to do them. And so we were wasting a lot of time in class on something that they weren't really reaping any benefits from because they were ignoring it. So to kind of try to take care of some of those issues, the grading overhead and the quizzes, we decided we wanted to keep the objective homework for the reasons that Randy mentioned earlier. It gives kids a real good idea of what they need to know about a certain thing, focuses them, so when they need help, they can do that. We wanted to keep that. We wanted to keep the tests and quizzes that way, but we wanted to make them more worthwhile. So what we did with the quizzes, instead of making them worthless, we just give them initially, then we use them as a remediation opportunity. The kids get them back. We discuss that type of problem with their graded work in front of them so they can see, how did I go wrong? What am I doing that Mr. Kitchens is not doing, or whatever? And then we let them redo those right there live by themselves. They go back into test mode and they rework those. And they're allowed to have the credit. Whatever they gain from our new discussion, whatever they've learned, they get. We did that to replace remediation on exams because that was kind of after the fact, and we didn't feel that was the most useful way to apply remediation. We wanted it ahead of the curve. And so now we just give the tests for each objective, and we rework it, and then we have one exam. So the grading overhead for us is much lower. And the feedback gets to the kids faster. They know exactly what they're doing wrong on each quiz or each whatever. And then our test is truly a summative. Our quizzes have become our formatives besides what we do in class. And then our tests are our summative, kind of some formative exam. And we also decided to make this year be totally cumulative. So each test has a section of old material that's recycled from previous objectives. So we not only can we see what a kid's struggling with now, but did they ever correct that problem 3 weeks down the road or 6 weeks down the road? Are they still struggling with that issue? So those are the major changes that we made. Do you have?
Right. So these kids will keep track of on a organizer of their choice, or our choice, basically, of what their scores were. And for any parents, we talk about our standards out there, we talk about objectives, and where if you've mastered or not mastered, they should be able to pull up at any given time throughout the year what they've done and how well they've done on that objective. And our goal is, of course, is for them to, by the end of the year, have touched upon that objective initially when we covered it as content, and then weeks later brought up again, so we make sure they haven't lost that. We think it's a good tool for us as far as if they're going from pre-AP chemistry to AP chemistry, as any AP class knows, there's a voluminous amount of information they need to keep track of, and if we continually bring it back up, it helps them keep it in their minds. And so when they come to a test, it's not like, oh, we have to go back over what we talked about the third week of school. They have it already there. So if they can get that process down in their minds, it should help them if they decide to go to AP chemistry, or really any AP class. It's just a format that rebuilds upon itself. And we have not seen the evidence of that yet, because we just started last year, but we're hoping that some kids will show that.